All right, boys and girls, so this is Chapter 5, Section 1. The name of this section is Solving Inequalities by Addition and Subtraction. So before we actually go into the bulk of the lesson, we need to review some of the inequality symbols to make sure you understand this. This symbol right here, this means less than or fewer than. So for example, 5 is less than 10. Next we have this symbol here. This is greater than or more than. So for example, you could say 10 is more than 5. 10 is greater than 5. Next we have these symbols right here. Now what sets these apart? Well, look at the bottom. This is half of an equal sign. So what this means in a word problem, this can be written as at most. This can be no more than. Or what you'll really see, what's really common to see, is less than or equal to. So any of these three phrases means that. So for example, x is at most 10. The reason why this makes sense is x could equal 10, but because of this, the less than symbol, x can't be 11. So x is at most 10. X is no more than 10. Same thing. It can be equal to it, but it can't be any more than 10. Right here, the most straightforward way to say it, x is less than or equal to 10. And we also have the opposite symbol, just like this one. And this one we would say at least instead of at most. We would say no less than instead of no more than, and we would say greater than or equal to. So x is at least 15. Could be greater than, could be equal to, can't be less. X is no less than 15, or x is greater than or equal to 15. Alright, so now that we have that out of the way, now let's take a look at the problems we're going to get, what we're going to do with this. Well, basically, we are going to get inequalities, and inequalities, they're going to look just like equations, and the fact is, for addition and subtraction inequalities, we solve them just like we solve regular equations. For example, let's say we have 22 greater than m minus 8. The way we're going to solve this is we're going to look at the side with the variable, see what's happening with it. 8's being subtracted. Opposite of subtracting 8 is adding 8. And remember, what you do to one side of an equation, you would do to the other. So what you do to one side of the inequality, you do to the other. The minus 8 and plus 8 cancel out, leaving m. 22 plus 8 is 30. Let's try another one. D minus 14 greater than or equal to negative 19. Opposite of minus 14 is plus 14. I'm going to do that on both sides. That cancels. I'm left with D is greater than or equal to negative 5. So now you might be wondering, what do these answers actually mean? Well, what this means right here, this means that any value of m that's going to make this statement true has to be less than 30, or 30 has to be larger than any value of m that you put in there. Either way you want to look at it. For this one, any value of d that you're going to put in here that's going to make this true has to be greater than or equal to negative 5. So let me show you what I mean. Right here, we know that m has to be less than 30. So what happens if we put a number in there that's not less than 30? What happens if, let's say we use 100? If I rewrite this equation, this inequality, 22 greater than m minus 8, and I know that my value for m, I don't know what it is exactly, but I know it has to be something less than 30. If I throw 100 in here, look what happens. I get 22 greater than 100 minus 8. 100 minus 8 is 98. So I end up with 22 greater than 92. Well, that's not true. That doesn't make sense. That's garbage. So that means that this value, 100, can't go in there. And we knew that because we know from right here that m has to be less than 30. Right here, this means I could put negative 5 into this original inequality and it would work. Or I could put some other number that's greater than negative 5 in there and it would work. So for example, let me put, we'll put 100 in there because 100 definitely is greater than or equal to negative 5. So I've got d minus 14 greater than or equal to negative 19. If I put 100 in here, 100 minus 14 greater than or equal to negative 19. 100 minus 14, that is going to be 86. So now I have 86 greater than or equal to negative 19. That is true. That works. So now that we see how that works, let's take a look at how we graph this, because you have to graph these. Graphing these, it's not the same as graphing on the coordinate plane. We actually graph these on number lines. So what you're going to do is you're going to use a number line. You're going to write down the number that's involved with your solution, and you're going to have either an open circle or a closed, filled-in circle, depending on whether or not the number is equal to it. I'll show you what I mean. For this one right here, the number in question is 30, so that's all I need for a number line. I don't need to have any other numbers, that's fine, I just need to identify where 30 is. Now we look at my letter, M, and I look at this symbol. This says that M is less than 30. It's not equal to, there's nothing underneath. So I'm going to have an open circle here, and since M is less than 30, I'm going to shade in all the numbers less than 30, which means all the numbers to the left. The fact that this circle is open, this tells me that M cannot be 30, which is true. It can only be less than 30. Now on this side right here, draw a number line, and I know D is greater than or equal to negative 5. So I'm going to indicate where negative 5 is, right there. That's as complicated as it needs to be. Now D is greater than or equal to, since D can be equal to negative 5, when I put my circle there, I shade it in. The fact that that's shaded in tells me D can actually equal that number. But D can also be greater than it. So there's D. D is greater than this number. So I shade in everything to the right. D is greater than or equal to negative 5. M is less than 30. So back up to our definitions. If you see one of these symbols that has the equal sign, you're going to give it a shaded in dot on the number line when you graph. These ones, open circles, because it can't equal those numbers. And that is about it for this section.